action on the channel. Nextel Cup Series racing at Phoenix for race number 8 of 36 on this Dave Blaney season. Yes, racing as Dave Blaney, of course, trying to get him his first career Cup title. Coming off our probably worst race of the season at Texas overall, speed-wise, ended up finishing in 11th. So our first non-top 10 since the Daytona 500 at the start of the season, where in that race we finished 25th. But that race, I led 70 laps, was actually competing for the win throughout the most part of that race. In fact, even on the final lap was competing for the win. But at Texas the other day, we didn't even snip the lead. We did not lead a single lap the entire race. And now we're at where we're at here at Phoenix looking for redemption. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into this stream. Starting at the back, no practice, no qualifying, but this is one of my best tracks on this game here in Richmond. Are probably my two best racetracks, so hopefully that leads into potentially another win today. Ryan Newman on the pole, green flag is in the air, we are racing at Phoenix. Looks like Dale Jarrett also on the front row. We had an absolute rocket ship in the Busch Series race at Phoenix earlier in the week. That took place Tuesday night. So here we are with this Cup race on a Friday night. And looking for more of the same. Of course, racing as Clint Boyer on that season. That was only a 50% race, but it did go caution-free. With contact with Kevin Harvick down into turn 3. Harvick blocking on the inside of the racetrack. With Blaney already up to 31st. Thanks for tuning in, Wade, as well. You were the first in the chat below. Yeah, game starting earlier, or race starting earlier, so we can get the, or at least I can watch the majority of the Tigers game tonight. Whoa! Hey, hey, hey! My dog just stole something. Give me a second. What is that all about? Sister's dog's digging in my trash can. Got a little like basket trash can in my room and took a tissue out of it. Disgusting. I'm surprised I saw that, to be completely honest. I saw her running with her head down. I was like, hey, she's got something. Going to a football game tonight? Oh, there you go. Well, I can't guarantee you it's going to be, this race is going to be done before then, but we'll see. I always thought I remembered high school football games around me starting at like 7 o'clock growing up. So if that's still the case, yeah, this definitely ain't going to be done by 7. This is one of the shorter races by way of distance. But even the shorter race is still 2.5 hours or so. Leaving at 6:30-ish, yeah, it's definitely not going to be done by then. Even a Busch race would be pushing it. So I was typing up the point standings prior to the start of this stream. I didn't realize Jimmy Johnson was outside the top 10 in points. This would have been the first year he would have won his first of 7 Cup titles, first of 5 in a row nonetheless. So very shocking he's not in the top 10 in points right now through the first 8 races. But as long as he's in the top 10 and the chase begins, he'll still have his shot at the title, of course. And we're passing Johnson as he's already outside the top 10. Jeff Gordon's 9th in points. His teammate, highest running Hendrick Motorsport driver right now in the standings, is 9th. through 8 races. And into this shorter racetrack here tonight, I consider Phoenix a short track, even though statistically speaking it is not, with it being a mile in length. It's flat. It races like a short track. Straightaways are relatively short. So I'm going to consider Phoenix a short track, always have. In this short track race here tonight, those HMS Chevys seem to be struggling again. Dave Blaney not struggling, and honestly, how good I am at Phoenix on this game, it doesn't surprise me that we're running this well in the early going. Even with Dave Blaney as our driver. A little contact, by the way, behind us. So they were 3 wide off turn 4. Michael Waltrip and Dale Jr. putting Dale Jarrett, in a 3 wide DEI sandwich, it looked like. Waltrip squeezed up against the wall and didn't really have anywhere to go. Earnhardt went down low. He barely missed the inside wall, sliding all the way down the racetrack. But we do stay green. Meanwhile, towards the front of the field, Dave Blaney trying to get underneath Jeff Green. Couldn't do it. Gets alongside Scott Riggs. And now drives underneath the 66 of Jeff Green into 3 and 4. Got some diecast last night. There you go. Head was pounding. I kind of had a headache yesterday, too. Not later at night. I just don't think I was eating enough throughout the day when I was at work. Because as soon as I ate, when I got home before I streamed, I felt like my headache slowly started going away, and it was fine into the night. So, I don't know. I'm going to say I was probably in a lack of energy. Or contact behind us. 3 wide pass for third for Blaney. As he runs his fastest lap of the race, passing Kurt Busch, Casey Kane. They made contact. Kane bounced off the wall. Pole sitter Ryan Newman has led these first 12 laps from the pole. Has Greg Biffle right there with him. And Dave Blaney from the back to the front in just 13 laps. Blaney tries to go for his 6th win of the season. Has just a 69-point lead over Dale Jr. coming into this one, despite having 5 wins in the first 7 races. The problem is the 2 wins, or the 2 races that we haven't won, we didn't finish in the top 10. And in the case of Texas, we didn't get any bonus points because we didn't lead any laps either. Blaney in second. All over Ryan Newman for the lead. I think he's got the Mobile 1 colors in this race, it looks like. And Blaney gets by the Mobile 1 Penske Dodge. And leads on lap 15. So Newman leads the first 14 laps. Blaney at lap 15 out in front. I'm not going to say that's all she wrote, but it's going to be tough for us not to win this race here today. I have a good hunch. Yeah, I figured Jacobs was going to play. Jaden Reed's probably going to end up playing too. Somehow, Jordan Love is still listed as questionable, which I would have never expected because the original report was that he was out 3 to 6 weeks, but LaFleur had mentioned in a post-practice press conference, I think yesterday, kind of like a team press conference after practice, said that he is not ruled out for Sunday yet. Now, I don't see him playing this weekend, but that also tells me that, maybe the mobility training or whatever he needs to do to get cleared to play again, or, even just something as simple as the resting, is going ahead of schedule with his injury. So that's good to hear. Maybe it's going to be closer to the 3 weeks versus the 6 weeks he'd be out for. But yeah, I don't see him playing this week. That's good news to hear as a Packers fan. Sound is off on the game. Yes, it is. Thank you for that. It was still muted from yesterday when I muted the menu. We're good to go. We are good now. Colts favored by 3. Yeah, the fact that they're favored by only that little, assuming Jordan Love doesn't play, tells me that Vegas likes the Packers this year. That's why I'm not scared. Like, even if Love's out for a few games and we start like 0-4 this season, I mean, we started 2-6 last year and still made the playoffs, so I don't really doubt this team. When what I thought was impossible happened last year, and I would imagine, 1 year back with all the same guys, the team would be, better than what they were last year. Not by a lot, but, just having that one extra year of experience, playoff experience especially, I think is huge. Yeah, I think they'll be all right. I don't think they'll go 0-4 to start the year. I would think that there's some winnable games in there. The Minnesota game, I think, is very winnable. It'll be backup quarterback versus backup quarterback at that point, so that's a very winnable game. This weekend is winnable if, Richardson had a good game last week, but he only completed 9 passes. If Green Bay can shut down his mobility, which has always been tough for the Packers with mobile quarterbacks, but if they can do that, I think we win the game this weekend, personally. Blew a 2-run lead yesterday. Yeah, I saw a little bit of the game when I was at work. It was 2-1 going into the 6th when I saw it. I saw the 6th inning, and I saw the start of the 7th right before things imploded when they had runners on first and second to start the inning. And I was like, oh boy, this is where it could go. This is where it could get out of hand. It stinks to do that against the Rockies. If we did it against another playoff caliber team, I'd say, all right, it happens. Sucks it happens, but it happens to everybody, man. Can't do that against the worst team in the National League. Can't do that. But I also did say going into the last couple series against the A's and the Rockies that I felt like the Tigers had to, all I needed them to do to have a chance going into the last 15 games, they had to win 4 of 6 games, and they won 4 of 6. It just stinks that they didn't pull off the sweep when they probably should have at the end, especially Skubal on the mound going into the game. That's baseball for you. Those are going to be tough. The fact we have to play them 6 times in the last... that could be a 3-3 split, honestly. I would not be shocked if that's a 3-3 split. That's a good baseball team. Tigers are going to have it tough for the next 9 games. They get through these next 9, and we're within a couple games still going into the last 6. I like our chances, but they're going to need some help for sure. I think the good thing is they play Kansas City, and that's one of the 2 teams we're chasing. So we kind of control our own destiny there. I really wish we played Minnesota before the rest of the year. Sucks having to hope that they would lose games. I'd say the Kansas City schedule's a little harder than Minnesota's the rest of the way, especially with Detroit and Kansas City playing. But Minnesota, the rest of their games left this season, I think they only have 1 more series against a winning team. So I don't know that they're going to lose many more games. And if they do, then they don't deserve to be in the playoffs because the way they have been playing recently, on top of, if they start losing against these losing teams, that'd definitely make them even worse. On paper, at least. All right, back to the race. Right now, I would assume this is going to be a 3-stop race. I don't think we're going to be able to go over 100 laps per fuel run. If somehow we were able to do that, then it could be a 2-stop race. I would assume, though, that this will be 3 stops. I would assume with the caution, everybody will pit here. And then they can make it on 2 from there. We have not seen a caution-free cup race yet this season. Actually, we haven't seen a caution-free 100% race in any series. Thought we were going to in the truck race in Michigan last night. We had a caution with 2 laps to go. So, even that race didn't go caution-free. The only caution-free races we've had on the Busch Trucker Cup season so far have been 50% races. Blaney doesn't have that pull-away speed from the lead right now, but he's got a good managing gap speed. He's consistently about a half a second ahead of Newman and Biffle. Newman and Biffle can't really put a lot of pressure on Blaney to make the effort to make the pass, and tires are staying underneath the car right now. These flatter racetracks, again, are my bread and butter on NASCAR 07. And we saw that in all 3 series last seasons. And we're seeing it so far in the early going of all 3 of the seasons this go around. Our next race on the season's at Talladega. It'll be our first of 2 trips there, our first and only time in the regular season. We'll be headed to Vegas, so that will be interesting. And also for right now, we are going to alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in this race. A lot of clean air in front of this 22 car. Still going to be a while before we catch our first lapper. McCaffrey out again this week. Well, at least they don't need him. I tried to go after that Jordan guy, and I didn't get him on the waiver wire, but that's all right. Somehow I picked up Isaiah Likely. I don't know how he didn't get drafted. I would have drafted him if I would have known he was undrafted in my fantasy league. I really don't know how that happened. He was on my team last year. I picked him up when Andrews went down, and he did well for me then. I definitely would have drafted him before, but I had to spend some money on the waiver wire. Ended up getting him. Then I also got Alan Lazard, too. I think are 2 good pickups for who I dropped. Ended up dropping Tank Dell from Houston and Keenan Allen. Which Keenan Allen's a good wide receiver, but I don't trust his quarterbacking over in Chicago right now. I usually try to stay away from rookies on my fantasy teams if I can help it. It's I don't blame Caleb. It was only his first career game. It might click after half a season. It might be a Jordan Love thing like last year where he's slow out of the gates and then he gets halfway through the season and it clicks. I mean, that could happen, but I'm not gonna let Keenan Allen sit on my fantasy team for half a year in hopes that it clicks for Caleb Williams, a guy that isn't Keenan Allen, and it's really out of his control. Plus, he's banged up already because I think Keenan was questionable this weekend. I'm like, yeah, I'm not dealing with a guy who's already injury prone on top of that. So I've had him on my fantasy team before. When he's healthy, at least with the Chargers all those years, he put up some really good numbers. Last couple of years with Herbert, and even before that, all those years, he was the leading receiver for Phillip Rivers. Him and Antonio Gates. Billy Kramer, thanks for tuning in. Cards won 2 out of 3 from the Reds. 1 game back for the Cubs. Sounds like both of our teams are in the wild card playoff race. Races are fun, you know, whether they're NASCAR races, they're playoff races in other sports. It's a fun time. Racing's cool. Yeah, you're counting down the Red Wings every day on the every day. Every day on the every day. I mean, I'm excited for it. Brighten my weekdays up, you know, later at night before I go to bed. Give me something to watch. I mean, obviously it's baseball right now, but a lot of the times though when I'm streaming, I miss most of the baseball games because they start earlier. At least at the Wings, they start a little bit later, more often than not. I do like that baseball did start the games sooner over these last couple seasons at 6:40. So that way, at least they end at a decent time for me personally. And now with the pitch clock and stuff, with speeding the game up, I mean, there was a lot of times those games would get done between 10 and 10:30 a lot. And it's pretty late, especially the days when I had to wake up at like 3:30 in the morning to go to work. And I just didn't stay up to watch the end because if I did that, I was only going to have 5 hours of sleep every night going to work. Like, I couldn't do that. So, definitely glad that, I mean, the games are basically getting done between an hour to an hour and a half earlier than they used to. So we did hit halfway out of gas a couple laps ago, looking like we could go in the borderline of 90 laps and a full tank of fuel here today. So that'll be about our window. I would probably lean towards a couple laps less than that just to be safe. We don't want the same situation we had in the Busch race the other night where we ran out of gas and had to limp it around the track. Luckily enough, we were still able to win because we had that fast of a race car. And I do believe we have that fast of a race car again. Maybe not quite to that extent versus the rest of the field, but pretty darn close. Only taking 15 laps to go from the back to the front. I mean, it's not like the only reason I would say like I don't care about the preseason is just because it doesn't matter. Ultimately, at the end, it doesn't matter. The games don't count. I mean, if a player is playing well, I'm sure it gives them more confidence for when the season starts, that they're already, you know, kind of clicking, which can be good, but also if a player's not playing well, the games don't count. So, you know, maybe they just don't have that edge and they're playing, if it is a starter. I don't actively go out and watch those games. You know, I don't waste my time with it because they don't count. Really, the only sport I watch any sort of exhibition events in general is NASCAR, and that's just because I love the sport so damn much. You know, I'll watch anything if it's NASCAR related and it's live, but yeah, not the same way with everything else, sport related wise. 27.798, that last lap, fastest of the day. First lap cars right in front of Blaney side by side, Paul Menard and Reed Sorensen. Blaney trying to make this move quick and efficient. Big dive down into turn 3. Clears both cars. Watching the ARCA race right now. There you go. Speaking of racing. Like to see who makes the team. Yeah, I mean, that would be an incentive to watch. I mean, I definitely used to keep up on that a lot more when I was younger. For sure. It's not that I don't care anymore. It's just so devoted into, you know, honestly, this channel. And like I said, I love watching NASCAR so much. So if it's during NASCAR season, it's just harder for me to... Could I personally go out of my way and know everything that's happening, you know, with all my other sports teams year-round? Sure, I could, but then I'm not putting as much focus on this. On the thing I do want to watch. And ultimately, it just boils down to I just like NASCAR, you know, that much better, so... That would be that. Yeah, I wonder how many more years they're going to be commentating. I feel like when one retires, the other... They're going to retire together, right? Daniels and Redmond. Like, that only makes sense. David Stremme going a lap down, too. Even just the 3 lap cars Dave Blaney has caught already, he's put a little bit of a gap over Ryan Newman and Greg Biffle, as a result of which he's able to pass cars much quicker, and he's got just over a 1-second lead. This is the largest lead he has had so far in the early going of tonight's action. But looking at fuel purposes, obviously we would have to pit within about 90 laps or so. These tires are holding up very well. We haven't had a single tire go into the yellow in the tire wear indicator. We're about 60 laps in. So we're not seeing a lot of fall off. And actually, speaking of that, we have cars pitting right now at lap 60. So it looks like we've got a little bit of an accelerated pit window. Which, you know what, now that I recall, and we're seeing this happen, I think I remember this from last season we were at Phoenix, because it was one of the last racetracks we raced at with the Mark Martin Revenge Tour season. We led every lap of that race, and I think a large part of that was because they had to pit one extra time for this very reason. I did not factor that into tonight's race whatsoever. We're not going to be able to lead every lap because we didn't start on the pole. And it took 15 laps to get to the lead, but we're still looking at pitting around lap 90. Maybe a couple laps before that, but everybody else is going to pit before lap 90, so they're going to try to leapfrog Dave Blaney in the running order. Mr. Gaming, thanks for tuning in. Yep. Speaking of NASCAR, weekend starts tomorrow, Watkins Glen. I'll have the streaming schedule for this weekend's live commentary action uploaded in the community tab later tonight. But if you're wondering for the start times for tomorrow, I'll be streaming Cup practice and qualifying at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning. That starts. And then about a half hour to an hour after that's done, the Xfinity race will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we'll have an all-day streaming affair with that being said. And then the Cup stream will be 2:30 p.m. Eastern Sunday afternoon for Watkins Glen. Get through that. We got Bristol, baby. Bristol next week. I'm excited. Even though I won't be able to attend that race this year, I'm still excited. Stinks. It's going to end my 4-year streak going to Bristol, but I know I've mentioned to you guys before. Well, maybe I'll keep it on the down low. I'll keep it on the down low. Some of you might know already, but if you remember from a while back or whatever, I've mentioned something about it. But that's all I'll say. I got big plans for next year. Unusual to see the Glen this late in the season? Yeah, for sure. It definitely is weird. It's so weird that it almost feels like we've raced there already, just because I'm so used to it already being in August. And knowing that it's fall time nearly and in September. And he's trying to get by Tony Raines. Now, Raines has fresher tires than him. Everybody who is not named Dave Blaney has already made a pit stop. Again, their fuel window is accelerated just a little bit. Blaney giving a little bumper tap to that left rear corner panel of Raines' car, and was able to finally make the pass on him once he got him up out of the groove just a bit. Get off of work at 3:30 tomorrow? Yeah, you'll definitely be able to catch most of the race then. Probably missed the first stage. A little bit of stage 2 maybe. Four lap cars up in front of race leader Dave Blaney right now are Jeremy Mayfield, Martin Truex Jr., Jamie McMurray, and Mark Martin. And there will be another gap to the next lap car up ahead of them once again. .27.765 that last lap, fastest of the race again. for the driver of the 22 car. So again, a 3-stop race. And everybody wants to see this go green long enough to where we would have to get to pit stops for this 22 car. And then they'll want a caution to try to get back on the right strategy again as well. Sorry you're late. No problem. We started the stream a little early tonight. Never a problem. Struggling trying to get by this 26 car. McMurray's got just enough speed on his fresher tires that 22 just can't get underneath him. A little bit of a run into turn 3 this time. And finally Blaney is there. Side by side. But can he hold with him now in the drag race for turn 1? It looks like he will be able to. Little contact. He's down on the yellow line. 26 made contact with the right side of his car just a bit there. And that hurts McMurray, then allows for Blaney to clear. Got 12 likes on the stream already. Appreciate that, everybody. Still in the first 100 laps. Next race for the Cup Series season is Talladega. So we ran the Dega Busch race the other night. We also ran the Phoenix Busch race earlier this week. So same schedule for the Cup side for right now on this portion of the season. So we'll have Dega next. Again, we are not that far out from the first stop for this 22 team. Will be a 4-tire stop. Top off on fuel. I think just to be safe, we're going to pit at lap 85. I'd like to think I can go a little further than that, but we'll go to lap 85 and then we'll pit. And then everybody will have pitted once. And our pit stop would have been about 25 laps after everybody else. So their next stop should be right around lap 120. I'll put Dave Blaney back on fresh tires, and we'll see where this 22 team will cycle off of pit row. We had about a 1.5 second lead when the pit stop started a little over 20 laps ago. This car's having a little bit fresher tires. Blaney having to work on these older tires in traffic. See where this lends itself. So probably going to be a 4-stop race for everybody except for Blaney. Blaney will be able to make it on 3. Which leads for everybody else needing a caution if they're going to want to stay in this race at some point. But it's going to have to be in a time span where they're not a lap down, and Blaney and everybody that at that time would be on the lead lap is on the lead lap. Another fastest lap, 27.731. Not really sure how much faster than that I can get, to be completely honest. Oh, wow, we did the same thing. How about that? Did the same thing we just did in the last race. And the Busch race the other night. How? Don't hit us. Oh, I was afraid of that. I was trying to stay out of the way. The problem was is there's no apron on the back stretch. Got our clock cleaned. Well, I mean, we clearly have a fast car capable of catching back up. Not the way I wanted it to go down, though. 4 tires, full tank of gas. By the way, we did eclipse 1,000 laps led on the season. I only had to lead 19 laps tonight. Did that easily. Means we're about on pace for the record again. So definitely not going to lead as many laps at Phoenix in this race compared to in the Mark Martin Revenge Tour season when we led them all. So clean stop for the 22 team. We pit at lap 85. 6 seconds off the lead. We're running out of gas. Quite a few lap cars in line behind Greg Biffle. Biffle cycled out as the race leader. Newman was in second when the stop started, so Biffle is now out ahead. First lap sled for him tonight. He's the 3rd different driver to lead a lap. Kligerman not racing after this season. Yeah, I remember somebody mentioned that in the stream last night, too. Which at that time was the first I had heard about it, but yeah, definitely surprising. Like I alluded to, though, in last night's stream, I think the only thing I can think of is the fact that he probably makes more money working for NBC than what he does driving an Xfinity car full-time. And, you know, if his career is wanting to get the Cup full-time and he's not able to do that, and he doesn't want to race Xfinity full-time because the money isn't worth it compared to what he could be making elsewhere. That's why I think, personally, he's doing what he's doing. Because I think the fit that he's in full-time in the Xfinity Series right now is a good fit for him. I mean, obviously, he's in the playoffs every year. He's an Xfinity Series playoff driver, and he's good in the Xfinity Series enough to run there full-time. Even though we've seen flashes in the Cup Series for underfunded teams, it's never had that opportunity. up to third. Cycle out of the pits initially in fourth, got one of those positions back. I would assume Newman is the second place car then. Especially when you consider the fact that, like I said, he was in second. He did lead laps earlier in the race. We're less than 30 laps away from seeing pit stops for everybody else in the field not named Dave Blaney. Blaney should definitely be able to make it past lap 160. And you can see Newman up ahead and Greg Biffle just a few extra car lengths in front of him. Blaney 1.4 seconds off the lead. He was 6 seconds back initially. And that time has been trimmed down a ton after cycling off pit road just 11 laps ago. Biffle caught in lap traffic as he passes the one of Truex. Blaney should get to Newman pretty soon here. Newman blocking the 22. Blaney's just going to go even lower through 3 and 4. Getting the grip on the apron. Passes the 12 cleanly for second. And now Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch right in front of the leader, Biffle. Blaney going low for the lead, trying to use the 11 as a pick. Little contact. Biffle still trying to hold on strong. There we go. Now we're clear. Took an extra lap, but we got him. Put Kyle Busch a lap down, too, while we're at it. Quite a few cars a lap down. Caution free for these first 100 laps here tonight at Phoenix. Once again, it is easily a 3-stop race here today. Ugh. Tell you what, there isn't a lot happening in this race today. Made things interesting there for a little bit, dropping out of the lead, got it back on the fresh tires, and here we are. It's better for us, though. And we'll take these easy days because they don't come all the time. So, at the end of the day, for myself, the goal is to win the race. And, you know, if we do that pretty easily with the fastest car in the field, awesome. Sometimes we do that with the not fastest car in the field. Sometimes we have the fastest car, we don't win the race. I mean, all those things happen. It's part of racing. So when you have a fast car like this, you definitely want to win with it. And Blaney's going to make darn sure that that will be the case. So on these fresher tires, once he passed Greg Biffle, he's just pulled away from him. 25 lap pressure tires for Blaney, pitting that far after everybody else. On a 1 second lead. No. No, I would not want to try that. That is a random question. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but the one fear that I have in my life is snakes, so I want nothing to do with them. I grew up on like the outskirts of a small town. There was a large like woodsy area basically just outside our backyard. We would get snakes in our backyard, in our garage all the time, and it always petrified me when I was younger. So even to this day, I see a snake, I get the heebie-jeebies. Gives me like that like little chill down my spine, just ugh. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not a big like obviously enthusiast on snakes or whatever. I don't know their discography, but I can still remember one day my mom went to take me to school in the morning, and the car that we were taking for me and my sister to get to school always parked in the garage. And in our garage, there was a giant snake in there one day. And I mean, it was definitely the biggest snake I've ever seen to this day. How did it get in the garage? The doors were shut. But it was like right outside the door. It was gigantic. Yeah, no, not a lot of fun. You know, you just be a kid, you're playing in the backyard when you're younger, and you just come across a snake all the time. And it got so bad to the point where I didn't want to play in the backyard anymore because there were a bunch of snakes. So I would just walk to like the downtown center and I would, you know, go play at the park or something instead. Like I did not want to play in my backyard anymore. I wasn't like fear of going outside or anything, but I'm like, yeah, I'll go to somebody else's house or I will go to the park. I am not playing in my backyard anymore, and that was that. And then we moved, and we didn't. I haven't seen a snake on a property ever since I moved. Not mine, like not when I mow my grandparents' lawn or something. Nothing. Haven't seen one. I did see one at the golf course last year. I was looking for my ball. I actually yelled. It wasn't busy that day, but somebody had to have heard me yell. It was loud enough. It just scared me. I didn't know it was there. So looking for my ball, and then there's a snake like inches from my shoe. Two of them, actually. It was two of them. I don't know if they were trying to breed or something, but they were like on top of each other. I was like, yeah, I freaked out. I was like, ah. It like backpedaled out of there. It wasn't like one of those like scary movie scenes from a thriller or something where like I tripped falling and like crawling away. It wasn't like that, but I did backpedal out of there pretty quickly. I think I would have felt safer if I had a club in my hand. The fact I didn't have a club in my hand when I was looking for my ball, that was a mistake. Always take a club with you. That was a mistake that day. Every time I played that course since, if I lose a ball in that creek, not looking for balls there. A golf ball could stay there. I had a membership at that course last year too, so I went there many times after that. I lost a few more balls in that water. I was not going to be fishing for them. Even if it was like close to the edge of potentially going in the long enough grass there, I wasn't going to look for it. Like, I'll just take a drop. It's all right. Yeah, I am not a fan of snakes. Farmhouse chicken pigs. Walked off the horse when I was little. Well, that's not good. Grandma told you some guy ate a... I mean, you can. I've been to some restaurants like seafood places and stuff down in Florida when I was at Daytona, and they would sell like gator bites and, you know, random, you know, fried stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't like, it's not like an every reptile thing. I can do without snakes. So if you ever wanted to know what Keegan's fear is, there you go. It happened. I probably shared that on the channel before, but I know it's been a minute. And yeah. Snakes are a no-go for me. Like I've stumbled across like dating profiles online before where like somebody will, I kid you not, somebody will be like holding a snake in their profile picture. As soon as I see it, I'm like, yeah, and I like swipe left immediately. I'm like, I don't care who you are, what you're about. I want to see a snake. Pet snakes are off limits. If I ever had a friend, thank goodness I'd ever had a friend that like had a pet snake. I wouldn't be going over to their house, I'll tell you that much. There was people that I am friends with now. When I went to the Royal Rumble, not last year, but the year before that, stayed at their place, and they used to have a snake. They didn't at that time, but I guess apparently he was telling me a story how he used to have a pet snake, and him and his wife were having to look for it in the house because it had escaped the cage. And they ended up finding it in the shower. I'm like, yeah, no thanks. Like, I would not have stayed there if they had that pet snake still. His wife at the time, well, still is his wife, but yeah, his wife was just like, no, that was the last straw for me too. She was like, I wasn't too keen on it before, but yeah, the minute it got out of the cage and found it in the shower, she was like, no, that was the last straw. We're getting rid of that thing. And that wasn't the last straw. Like, he had gotten bitten by that thing before. He was trying to feed it once and it bit his hand. And I'm like, how is that not the last straw? And then when it escaped the cage, I'm like, you are crazy. Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Just wake up one day and your foot's in its mouth or something. Like, no thanks, man. No way. Just, that'd be my nightmare. I can remember like having nightmares as a kid growing up though, because I would see a snake in my backyard. I would have dreams that like I'd go off the back porch and instead of like grass where the grass should be was just snakes, because I'd find snakes in the backyard all the time. No, it really did. It really did terrify me when I was younger. You know, it's not to that extent anymore. I'm not getting nightmares of it when I'm randomly waking up in the middle of the night from time to time, but I can remember having those dreams though. Golf a lot, actually work at a country club the last 35 years. Yeah, I do. I haven't played as much this year as I would have liked. This is the first year I haven't had a membership golfing since I was in high school when I was 18. I was on the golf team, and I had a membership that year, like that summer going into my senior year. So the summer of my junior year going on to my senior year, well, not even the summer, really, the golf season. So end of junior year into senior year, yeah, I've had a golf membership ever since. So first time in 8 years, I haven't had a membership. Yeah, definitely when I go to move again, I am definitely getting another one. It makes it so much more affordable to play. You just pay up front and then you just play for free the rest of the year. You more than make your money's worth, most courses at least. I mean, you can play like twice a week and make your money's worth by the end of the season. So if I'm playing like 4 times a week like I was, pretty much every day I had off of work and then 1 or 2 days during my work week, yeah, I was more than making up for it. And I usually walk too, so I get the cheaper membership where I'm not getting cart pass. So I'm walking, so yeah, it's very, very affordable. But yeah, I didn't go for that this year though. Had a lot of stuff going on. But I have played few times. I think the last time I played, I was in a scramble a couple of weeks ago. I think that was the last time I played, so it's been a few weeks. That would have been the last weekend of August. The weekend before Labor Day. It was that Sunday. It was the Sunday of the Daytona, after the Daytona night race. So NASCAR Cup Series had the Daytona night race. That next Sunday was that golf scramble. Team did pretty good. 11 under. That was even bogey in the last hole, too. Bogey to par 3 right at the finish. We finished 11 under. It would have sucked if we lost by a stroke because of that. Luckily, we didn't. Station wagon drove it to where it was Texas. No heat or no AC. It was terrible. See, I'm always a windows down person. Very rarely I'll have the windows up and air conditioning. Like if there's movement, you're driving, even if it's like a 90-degree day, it could be hot as hell in my warehouse at work. I get out of there, and even if it's like 90 plus, always been a windows down person. I feel like it definitely lasts longer when you don't use the AC. The only times I really use it is if, like, I get off of work and it looks like there's rain coming or something, then I'll have it on, so that way when it's raining, you know, it's already cool in there and the windows are up. Because I clearly can't have it rolled down if it's raining or something like that. But that's about the only time I ever have the windows down. Or windows up, I mean. Two little twin dollars think I'm the coolest. Well, that's cool. There's a lot of other cool people out there. But, appreciate it. Watching the most. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Just being born when it happened. I will say if you're sitting in the back seat, I can definitely see it being way hotter than in the front. I've always had that. Like when I went to SummerSlam last month, I was in the back seat because somebody else was driving in their vehicle. And that's the first time I'd sitting in the back seat of a vehicle in a while. It was very warm back there. The AC was on, but I was still warm. So I mean, it could have been just the vehicle we were in, but it didn't help. It was like 90 degrees that day too. But yeah, it was definitely warmer back there, I think. But considering I'm usually in the driver's seat a lot, yeah, I know I'm windows down for sure. Gonna connect my charger real quick. I have it with me this time. As I'm catching something. I was trying to extend it to my laptop and it wasn't extending. Alright, there we go. We are currently working lap 135 of 312. If you're wondering why we're a lap ahead in the field, it's because everybody is already pitted. There's an alternated fuel window for the AI. So if you watched the Talladega race for the Busch Series the other night, on Wednesday, we had an accelerated pit window where the AI, as well as myself, would have to pit basically after 20 green flag laps. Today, we have that same thing for the AI, where they're having to pit after 60, but we can go the full field run. We went 85 laps on the first run. So, we have an advantage, is what I'm saying, in this race. If we somehow go green all 312 laps, which we, again, have not had a caution-free race on all 3 series so far in a 100% race. But if we do, by my math, they're going to have to pit one more time than us. We'll have to pit 3 times in the race. They're going to have to pit 4. They've already pitted twice, and we've still only pitted the 1 time at lap 85. So we're going to be able to take this quite a ways further. We're not even down to a quarter tank of fuel left yet, so we could still go at least 20, 25 plus more laps from here. We'll watch the Tigers game first Sunday. Honestly, it's tough because the Packers play at 1 o'clock. So I'll probably be paying more attention to the Packers game. It depends. I'll definitely be score tracking the Tigers game. If it's a competitive game, I will be probably going back and forth from like 1 o'clock on. With the Tigers game starting a little earlier, you know, that can dictate it. That Tigers game might be over before I start streaming. It'll be close. And the 176 car blowing an engine on the inside of the track. David Stremme had to check up from hitting him, and Blaney drives around the outside of Stremme and makes the pass. Putting the 40 car another lap down. Race still caution-free. Yeah, it is caution-free. And we went caution-free at Phoenix last season on the Mark Martin Revenge Tour season, so this just seems to be a track that doesn't bring a lot of yellows. Our Busch race the other night went caution-free, but that was only a 50% race, so it was only 100 laps. But the 100% races for Truck, Xfinity, and Cup we've had on the current seasons we're running, we have not had a caution-free race. Our truck race at Michigan last night had a yellow with 2 to go. It was our only yellow of the race. So we've definitely got close. It seems like a lot of races across all 3 series this season will go green for I mean, it's like a stupid long time to start the race, and we'll get a caution last 25, 30 laps. I mean, that has happened at least a couple times I can think of on this season. Martinsville, Bristol, we had cautions in the final 30 laps. Atlanta was another one. We had a caution real late in the last 20 or so. Vegas, I can remember a caution very late in that race because we went like 230-something laps caution-free yellow in a 267-lap race, and then we had to fight them off at the finish. But yeah, we've had a lot of races like that. So this could be another one. This might be another race where we go 250 laps caution-free, and then we get a caution the last 50 to 70 laps inside that final fuel run. Yeah, so far this thing is pretty straightforward. With the accelerated pit window, that's why, again, we have a 1-lap lead. It'll be interesting after we pit this next time exactly where everybody else is going to be on. Well, on fuel, they're going to have to pit around lap 180. So we're really getting close to extending this thing out quite a bit. Where if a caution came out at a point like right now, second place would get the free pass to get back on the lead lap because they're the first car 1 lap down. But that would be it. So I would imagine the AI is going to pit if we get a caution because their fuel window is shorter than mine. So I pretty much think after almost every caution they're going to pit, whether they just pitted or not. Makes sense to me, at least. 18 likes on the stream. Again, appreciate that. Our goal is to get to 25 for tonight's stream. And we're still in the first half of this race, so we're almost there. This feels like a long one today. I don't know about you guys, for those of you that have been here since the start. I think it's just because we are dominating that, and there hasn't been a caution to kind of throw a wrench in the strategy side of things, that it's just been so straightforward that it's taken so much thinking out of it. When I'm not having to think, I feel like time tends to go a little slower. Race is over if caution free. Oh, yeah, for sure. With the accelerated fuel window, if there's no caution, we're probably going to win by a lap because we're going to have to pit one less time. So, yeah, it's just a matter of if we get a caution, which, I mean, again, we still have a little over half the race left, so we could definitely get one at some point. A lot of time left. I mean, we still have to pit 2 times ourselves the rest of this race yet. Quarter tank of gas left this point in the run. Actually just ran our fastest lap, 27.701. That last time. Fastest of the race. A lot of clean air around us. No traffic to be dealt with. Use my grammar. Kind of grammar slippage. I've noticed, oh wow, 27.609. We picked up almost an entire tenth of a second from the original fastest lap to the one we just ran. I don't know where that came from. I don't think we're going to get down below 27.5. As I say that, 27.576. We're getting there. 3 laps in a row, we ran our fastest lap of the race. Second place might end up 2 laps down. It's possible. I mean, we keep running lap times like we did the last 3 laps. Might do that. I don't know where the speed came from. Maybe I'm just focusing that much more. I don't know. Well, now we drop back to 27.6 again that last lap. Still quicker than we've been running most of the race before that. Part of the reasoning for running as fast of a lap this deep in the run too, our tires just haven't been wearing out in this race. I mean, there's just not a lot of tire fall off here at Phoenix on this game. 27.545, another quickest lap of the race. It's possible under 27.5. Well, I mean, as I'm getting close, and we still have half the race left. I could probably make an adjustment to try to loosen this thing up a little bit, but it's so fast, I just don't want to touch it and accidentally make it bad for a run and then suffer the consequences. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. That's my philosophy. Always has been, always will be. It's different from real life. This track isn't going to go through a bunch of changes like it would in a real race as rubber gets laid down. And I almost wonder with NASCAR 25 coming out next year and iRacing having a hold of that, I almost wonder if that will be the case. I wonder how in-depth they're going to make that game, essentially. Because I can definitely see them making it very in-depth. We're not that far away from the second stop of the day for Dave Blaney. Again, everybody else is pitted twice already. Blaney's only pitted once. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll definitely catch the Tigers game before the Packers come on. No, I don't iRace. If so, do the track change as the race goes on? I have no clue, honestly. That's why I wondered, like, because if it does do that already, I wonder if they could put that in the council game next year. The only iRacing experience I've ever had personally was at the NASCAR Hall of Fame a few years ago. More than a few. That was like, no, it was, yeah, 2019, I guess. Yeah, it was a while ago now. Man, it doesn't feel like it's been that long since I've been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I got to get back there again. They probably throw a lot more stuff in there in the last 5 years since the last time I went. But yeah, I spent like an hour on the iRacing rigs there. I was in there for 5 hours total, which it did not feel like I was in there for 5 hours, but I was in there for 5 hours. I wanted to make sure I hit everything in there before I left, because I didn't know when the next time I'd be back. And I'm glad I did, because I haven't been back since. I've been to Charlotte one other time since then. Actually, 2 times. I went through it once when I went to Darlington in 2020. Unfortunately, I actually was going to go to the Hall of Fame there, but it was closed during COVID. And then I was also going to go to the Penske race shop, also closed during COVID. Even the shop was closed. Like, I can understand if, like, the Penske shop, like, to go and, like, see people working on the car and stuff on the balcony overhang like a lot of these race shops do. I could see that. But even the merchandise shop was closed, which I was extremely shocked. And then 2021, I went to the Coke 600, but I had a whole rental car fiasco there where I didn't have time to go to the Hall of Fame. I'll tell that story again. I know I've told it before, but it is one of my more memorable for a bad experience by way of traveling. I've had a few weird occurrences traveling, and that was definitely up there on the list. We're going to go one more lap, by the way, till we pit. We'll pit this time by lap 165. And this will be exactly an 80-lap run. About 85 on the run before that. We'll take some 4 tires and gas, and everybody else will end up hitting about another 15 laps after this. All right, here comes Blaney. That was a perfect pit road entry. No adjustments, 4 tires, full tank of gas, topping off. Hopefully have another clean stop. Only iRacing experience World of Outlaws game. Yeah, so does like the track, I actually haven't played that version of the World of Outlaws game. But does the track change throughout? Because it does in dirt racing too. Just like it would with asphalt racing. Obviously, it's probably more drastic with it only being like a 40-lap feature, but because if it does there and they're able to do it with dirt, I would assume they're able to do it with asphalt racing. All right, Blaney getting up to speed. Right in front of Dale Jarrett. We'll see exactly what this lead will be. 7-second lead for Dave Blaney right now, so there you have it. 7-second advantage. Just past halfway. About a dozen laps past the halfway mark. Track changes as race goes on. Well, yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, that'll definitely be something to look for in next year's NASCAR game. I'm excited for it. I mean, we haven't had a new game since 2021. It's not that I get tired of playing these old games. I really like it. But, you know, when you watch the races every weekend with the modern drivers they have, it would be cool if I could go to a video game that has modern drivers in it. The closest we have is NASCAR 21 Ignition. That game's just absolute dog crap. So I'm not going to play it. And then if we go to the Heat series, you know, for the console side of things, I can get an updated roster if I had a PC that could run something like that. But I don't. So even that roster is like 5-6 years old now. So I'm doing these classic game playthroughs, and I'll continue doing the classic game playthroughs even when the new game comes out. Maybe like initially when the new game comes out, I might only do that for like a month or so when I'm doing the gaming streams. But, you know, we'll still get, you know, I won't go away from doing this, but I'll throw like a couple of these streams in a week. I'll throw a couple of the, you know, NASCAR 25 stuff in at that time too, so. New Outlaw game does buy change to the track. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that they're able to implement something like that. Just ran another fastest lap, 27.537 that last time. And currently working lap 171. Here is Dale Jr. Came into this race second in points, 69 back of Dave Blaney, and he's about to go a lap down. Blaney clears Earnhardt. Casey Kane going to give a lot of room to the 22 on the bottom. And if Earnhardt doesn't get to the bottom, he's going to lose another spot to Tony Stewart. Blaney is clear. Went to the Hall of Fame in 2011. That was a long time ago. That wasn't long after it opened, wasn't it? On the way to Darlington. Yep. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I was going to get myself like a side panel of Ryan Blaney's race car that day at the race shop, and they were closed. And then with the fiasco I had the next time I went to Charlotte, I almost missed the 600 when I was there. Which, again, I'll get into. I mentioned I was going to get into that story. So if you're new to the channel and have not heard me tell this story before, I know I've told it a while back, so when I went to Charlotte for the 600 2021, I was getting my car worked on at the time, so I took a rental car. I already had tickets for the race and stuff, hotel booked, whatever. I was still going to go to the race, so I spent the couple extra $100, whatever. I rented a car. So I rented a car from my hometown. Well, not my hometown, but a town close to my hometown. And started driving to Charlotte, 9-hour drive. Well, I didn't get to Charlotte, but I got to Mooresville, North Carolina. Just outside the Charlotte area and stuff. And I went to go to the Penske race shop. And this would have been Saturday. So Saturday afternoon, went to the Penske race shop. It was like middle of the afternoon. Went to go get my souvenir, you know, Blaney side panel or whatever, because I had seen that the first time I was there. Couldn't go last year, 2020, COVID, they were closed. And I went to the door and I was trying to open it. It wouldn't open. And they said that their business hours, they were closed on the weekends. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I can't go in there Saturday or Sunday. I'm like, well, it looks like I'm going to have to go Monday when I was out. But then Monday is Memorial Day. They're also closed on Memorial Day. So I literally couldn't go to the Penske shop the whole weekend I was there, Saturday through Monday. So that sucked. I was like, oh, well, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Going to go get something to eat, and I'm just going to go play golf. Because the last time I was in the area, I played at Mooresville Golf Course. Really, really nice place. And I hadn't been back there to play around since. And I was already in Mooresville. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go there to play golf. I'm going to go to the Whataburger that's in downtown Mooresville first, get me something to eat, and then I'll go to the golf course right afterwards. So I booked my tee time, went to go get something to eat, and in the midst of me pulling into the Whataburger, there was a guy that had a trailer, pickup truck trailer, like an open trailer, and he had a bunch of scrap metal and like old dishwashers and washers and dryers and stuff. So Probably was going to go to like a scrapyard if I had to guess or something with the stuff. This is a very tight drive-through, like very tight. I don't know if every Whataburger's like this. This is the only Whataburger I've ever seen before. But it's kind of like a Sonic where like you can order outside and they'll bring your food out to you. How there's places like that. So this is kind of what this Whataburger was. So he pulls his trailer into this spot that he probably shouldn't have. It's so tight. So he almost jackknifed his trailer into his truck. So in the midst of me behind him, I went into a parking spot on the side to get out of his way. And he ends up backing all the way up into my car, into my rental car. But again, this is not my car. This is a rental. Luckily, I paid for the insurance. Always pay for the insurance, because if I didn't pay for the insurance, I was going to have to pay for those damages, which is stupid, even though it's not my fault. So, no, it wasn't a camper. It was like it was an open trailer that just had a bunch of like scrap metal dryers and washers and stuff. Like I said, he was probably going to like a scrap metal place or something, if I had to guess. I don't know what he would have been doing with all that stuff. But yeah, no, it was an open trailer, and he backed right into the left front, because I had backed into my parking spot. Backed into my left front, and it was, I mean, it was quite a bit of damage. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to drive the car home the way it looked. And it's Memorial Day weekend. And every rent-a-car place that Saturday afternoon was closed to try to get my rental car exchange out. So I'm like, no way. I mean, so got to the hotel. Well, first and foremost, when the like police, you know, got there or whatever, just to file the police report, they the officer was like, the woman officer was just like, yeah, you shouldn't drive this. And I knew I knew I couldn't drive it or whatever, but I still had to like get to my hotel that night. All these rent-a-car places were closed, so I wasn't going to be able to get it shopped out and get a new one. I'm like, I can't just leave it sit here in the Whataburger parking lot. So I limped it like on another 45-minute drive to the hotel. I took only the back roads. I did not take the highway back, because I would have had to drive the highway into Charlotte. I wasn't going to do that at all the traffic and all the damage to the left front of the car. So I got to the hotel. I was somewhere for the night, and then the next day, I was able to get a rental car replacement at the airport. And it was a long ordeal into trying to schedule a time for a tow pickup to take it to the airport, while also taking me to the airport with the car so I can get the rental car exchange. And then that whole ordeal, they were like going through the rundown of like trying to get into contact with the enterprise that I had gotten the rental car from in the first place, to let them know what was happening, but they couldn't get a hold of them because they were closed. It was a Sunday. I knew they were closed. I was trying to tell them, I'm like, hey, you're not going to be able to get a hold of them. I need a rental car. And mind you, this is like Sunday afternoon before the race. The Indy 500's going on. I originally wanted to watch the Indy 500 in the hotel, then go to the track right after. I'm missing the Indy 500. The NASCAR race is starting in a few hours. I'm stuck in the airport. I don't have a car to drive home. Finally ended up getting a car, and I got back to my hotel, caught like the last 20 laps of Helio Castroneves winning his 4th Indy 500, and then I got to the track right after that. So I did not miss the race, but I was not able to go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame like I had planned, because I wanted to go that Sunday morning while I was there, because I ended up just coming home the Monday after the race. But yeah. Moral of the story is always pay for the insurance on the rent-a-car, because you never know what's going to happen. Last thing I was expecting is in a Whataburger parking lot to have some guy in a pickup trailer back into my left front significantly enough that the car was not drivable. Like, how does that happen? Anywhere, let alone when you're like on vacation on a trip somewhere. Like, that derailed the entire next 12 to 24 hours. So I got the rental car exchange. I ended up going to drop the rental car off I couldn't drop it off on the Monday because they were closed. I actually had to rent the car out through the Tuesday. So after I took the rental car to work, that Tuesday after work, I dropped it off. And when I dropped it off, they were supposed to be like emailed that my rental car was like switched or whatever. So when I showed up and like the person like walked outside or whatever to take my keys and, you know, look to see if there was any damage on the car, you know what they usually do with like rental car places and stuff, make sure everything still works. And they did it and they're like, this isn't the car you had. I'm like, no, I had to get it exchanged. And they're like, oh, you did? And like, I'm like, you guys didn't even know like any of this happened? Like they had to put the police report and everything. Like they were supposed to send it to them. They didn't get anything. So then they're like trying to contact the airport that I had gotten the Enterprise place at the airport that I had gotten the car switched over and trying to tell them and ask them questions as to what it was going on. Make sure I didn't like steal the car or something. Like, what is this? What is this world we live in? And I was asking that question 4 years ago. Here we are now. It's a whole different thing. Tell you what, man, 2020 to 2021 were some wild times. That definitely added on to it. It made the trip memorable in the wrong ways necessary. But the good news is I still got to go to the race. And I still, you know, obviously made it home in one piece. And then I also paid for the insurance on the rental car, so that was good too. (2018) first trip, Gulf Coast. Got caught speeding off the ramp. Well, yeah, I mean that can be a bad thing on a trip too. I was coming back from Dega last year, and we were me and my uncle went. My uncle was driving his car back, and he got pulled over in the middle of the night for speeding. We were like 2 hours away from getting dropped off. And there was this kind of a funny backstory to that. When we were driving through Tennessee on 75, like most of the way through the state, there was this biker gang that was there. They were called I think they were called the Outsiders or something like that. And they, so they were just like there, and there was a bunch of them or whatever. So we were kind of making jokes throughout the night because there was some of them that were staying at the same hotel we happened to be staying at in Knoxville. I'm like, what are the odds that we're like all staying at the same hotel? And we were kind of following with each other. So we were making jokes that they were just like following us like everywhere we were going, that they were going to be at the race or whatever. So when he got pulled over, before he walked up to the car, he's just like, I'm going to tell him the Outsiders are after us. I died when he said that. I'm like, if you say that, that'd be hilarious. It made the story memorable. So I'll always remember the Outsiders. I wish he would have done that just to see the comedy side of things. I would not have been able to hold a straight face if he would have said that while the cop was like asking for his license and registration. We need to go. The Outsiders are after us. Brother-in-law's husband. Well, I'll assume that he said that correctly. Could be. Could be. Hit the bumper of the truck. Good old fender bender. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it was. It didn't, like, total the rental car when that trailer backed into it, but it definitely wasn't, like, drivable at its current state. Like, I probably would have had a tire rub easily with the left front kind of caved in as much as it was, so that's why I didn't trust myself, like, driving. Like, yes, I was able to go, like, below the speed limit on the back roads, 45 minutes to get to the hotel. Tire was still up. No way I would have been able to take a 9-hour drive home on the highway at like highway speed. There's no chance that tire would have held up. It wasn't worth the risk. So, and at least being close to a metropolitan area like that there was an airport on a holiday weekend for me to get the rental car, because if, say, that would have happened driving home on Monday, I pretty much would have been stranded on the highway, had to basically stay at the closest hotel near me, and then would have had to go through that whole fiasco the next day, but not in a major area city. I'd be basically out in the middle of nowhere, so trying to find a rental car place that had vehicles available and stuff for me to take to Ohio and then get the switch, because it would have had to have been an enterprise to be able to get the switch like that too. Yeah, that would not. I had to get that situated there. There was no way I would have driven home otherwise. Yeah, I'm glad it was a rental car at the same time too, where I didn't have to pay for the damages, because I did pay for the extra damage warranty clause or whatever. Even though it's a couple $100 extra, well worth it, because like I said, you never know. Because that damage would have been more than a couple $100. I can guarantee you that. I guarantee I would have gotten price gouge on that, and I probably would have paid. I guarantee I would have paid at least $1,000, if not more, for the damages. Probably more, honestly. Little tight, maybe need a new wedge adjustment. Yeah, I thought about taking the wedge out of it after the first or second stop, and honestly, we're so far ahead. I'm rolling with it. The car feels glued to the racetrack. I'm scared if I loosen it up and I get to the long run, it's going to free up even more. So kind of like I said earlier, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Little over 100 to go. We pitted twice. Everybody else has pitted 3 times. Everybody will have to pit one more time in this race. Looks like there's only 2 cars out of the race with engine problems that I see, at least on pit road. So yeah, very straightforward. And I know the 176 fantasy driver was one of them. I remember he was smoking on the apron in 3 and 4 earlier. So that's when we passed David Stremming on the high side as he got held up by him. I don't know who the other driver is that blew an engine, though. The 176, that first car on pit road, whoever that car is towards turn 1 on pit road is, they're out too. Deer damage in February, that's tough. I'm thankful I have not hit a deer. Oh, you're talking about the... My bad. That went over my head. A little tight, needed a wedge adjustment. Yeah, good thing it wasn't a NASCAR next gen. I could have broken a toe link and would have ended my day. Yeah, good that you fixed it. I know the only person I really, well, I guess my grandpa hit a car a long time, or hit a deer a long time ago when I was little, and then my dad, like within a year or two, also hit a deer on his way to work in the morning, and he had to get a new car. And I actually, now that I think about it, I think my grandpa had to get a new get a new Tahoe at the time, too. My dad was driving a Pontiac. Well, trouble in the dog leg, our first caution, with about 101 laps to go. Reed Sorensen. Oh my gosh. I saw debris on the high side of the racetrack. Caution flag is out. I saw the hood of Reed Sorensen's car. He demolished that 133. I don't know what happened before that, but there were two cars up near the wall. Sorensen probably didn't see him and full throttled him. And now that will bring the field to pit road. And we're still outside the fuel window, so we're going to have to pit one more time yet before the end. But we'll pit for fuel and tires now. We've got about 50 laps on them, give or take. Even though there hasn't been much tire wear, the only reason I'm pitting is because I'm a lap ahead of the field, honestly. If I was on the lead lap with a lot of other cars still, I probably would have stayed out, being outside the fuel window just to keep track position, but we got quite a few cars staying out. There's some on pit road, but some have stayed out, so split strategy here. Again, nobody can make it on field to the finish from right now. And whoever was in second, whether that was Ryan Newman or Greg Biffle, going to get the free pass. So again, another non-caution-free race this season. But we did go over 200 laps caution-free to start the race. And it looks like Dave Blaney, Greg Biffle are the only two on the lead lap. So Biffle back in this race. Blaney continues in the lead. Green flag back in the air, lap 215. And we may see some more debris yellows, honestly, following that crash if all the debris that was on those other cars did not come off. A lot of contact with Kurt Busch on the restart as Blaney gets around him on the high side. Trying to keep Kurt a lap down. This restart with 98 laps to go. And we've only been able to go 85 laps in a full tank of gas. So again, we are still about 12 laps short of being able to make this race to the end. So now we're going to have to pit 4 times. And this has got Greg Biffle back in the race. Stuck in traffic on the restart. He did pit also. So Biffle did hit pit road. Looked like an actor drinking a cup of water. Seems like yeah, there's like, there is a little drop left in it. It is empty. It is empty. I had to get everything I could out of it. Crew chief didn't give me a refill when I was just on pit road. I don't feel like pausing it, running downstairs just to get more water. We can finish this out. I've been staying hydrated all day. We're good. I haven't even broken a sweat tonight. We're good. It's actually comfortable in my room. Not overly hot like it is sometimes. I can't believe you could see that it was empty. It is a clear cup, but I just thought the camera was far enough away. I didn't think anybody would catch on. It was only that time, though, that it was empty. The first couple times I had grabbed it, it wasn't empty. Now the battle for third place would be the battle for the free pass position. And because we restart with 98 to go, it's a one-stop race for everybody with their fuel window extending to lap. Tilted it back all the way. Yeah, that would be correct. It's hilarious. Yeah, there's just a little driblet in there. And we pulled away from the pack on this restart. Like a ton. Hit a deer in 2001. I didn't even see that comment. Sorry, I missed that. Coming home from a high school match at night. Oh, dang. The only thing that ever happened to me bad driving when I was in high school, I did get a speeding ticket once when I was in high school. It was the only speeding ticket I've ever gotten. And I went to go, I got off of work early. I was working at McDonald's at the time, and I got off early. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to squeeze around a golf in, but I have to go back home and pick my clubs up real quick. Just before, you know, avid golfers, they usually carry their clubs everywhere they go, and they're ready to go at that time. I was not ready to go at that time. You know, I'm still new to the game, and it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get around to golf in here real quick. It was like at the end of the golf season. It was in October, so it was getting darker earlier. I didn't have much time, so I was speeding on the way to the golf course. I got pulled over by state patrol. And then I was pulled over for a long enough period of time. I was only able to play 9 holes. He wasn't wrong for pulling me over. I was speeding. I think I ended up, it was a 68 and a 55. Was what I got ticketed for. I was speeding. But he did, he had me get out of my car because he saw there was, stuff in the back seat, and he asked to search my car, which I thought was just kind of weird. I mean, I obviously let him do it, so I had to get out of the car, and he was searching for, I don't know what he was searching for. Mind you, I'm just 17 at the time. I'm just 17 years old. Driving my Ford Explorer to the golf course. The only thing I had in my backseat were my golf clubs. So he asked me where I was going. And I was also super close to the golf course. You could see some of the holes on the golf course from where I was pulled over. Less than a minute, I would have been pulled in the parking lot. But yeah, they, yeah, I thought it was interesting. And when you get ticketed in the state of Ohio when you're under the age of 18, you have to go to this, driving, it's kind of like driver's ed, essentially, for, a day where you have to basically, relearn some stuff in a class and, not to disobey the driving laws and whatever. So I had to go do that on a random day. I literally had to miss school for that. And then I had to go to court, pay a fine at the court. It's a whole ordeal. I don't know if it's still like that in the state of Ohio or not. You'll have to let me know in the chat if there's other states that are like that too. But yeah, I had to, just for going 13 miles per hour over the speed limit, pulling a Scottish, I should have dragged him into the golf course. I'm just trying to go golfing. They search his car too? I don't think they did. Well, they probably did after he was dragging the guy, I guess, but I didn't even think about that, yeah. We're comparing it to current events. Yeah, it was a lot longer period of time than I don't know. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. I was super also not threatening when I was 17. Like I was 6'4", 150 pounds, way before the beard, you know. So like I look fragile. Maybe he thought because I looked so fragile, maybe he thought I was on drugs or something, and he saw the clubs in the back seat. He was like, "Oh, it's kind of a mess back there. Maybe this kid's got drugs." I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking, but he had to search my car. I thought it was odd, because then, like, you know, that's the first time I got pulled over. So then I was kind of wondering, I was like, does this happen when you get pulled over all the time? And then, like, if I was, like, talking to people at work the next day or something, or, you know, at school, like, I don't think so. No. It's a rare occurrence, I guess. Yeah, it wasn't like there was a mess. And the only reason I had the clubs in the back seat, not like in the trunk, is because I can't remember. There was something in the trunk. Or no, the door wouldn't open. The trunk door wouldn't open. That thing was old. They had a bunch of problems with it. So like I couldn't open the trunk, so I had to put the clubs in the back seat. But even still, it's like that was the only thing that was bad. I don't know. I just felt like 17-year-old going 13 miles per hour over the speed limit. It seems a little excessive to like have him step out of the car and check the back seat for a speeding violation. Like, seems a little. Seemed like he wasn't busy that day, is what I'm getting at. He had a little extra time on his hands. Hit a guy in electric. Jesus. I don't know if you're joking or not. Hopefully he's okay. Is this like recent? This might be another joke. I really don't know. Kind of hoping it is. One thing that was kind of funny too about getting ticketed for and having to go to that like driving class or whatever, where there were a bunch of other minors in there that like also had like traffic violations or something of that nature. There was somebody that was in my class that was also there that day, missing school for the same thing that I was there for. I'm like, oh, at least I know somebody that's here. There was like, it wasn't that many kids there. It was like 10, 15, 16 to 17-year-olds that had, traffic violations in that county over the last however many days. It was like a month after the ticket too. It was well after I'd gotten the ticket that this class was. Actually, no, it was longer than that. Because this was like end of golf season when I got ticketed. And I don't think I had that class until like, it was around the holidays. Because I remember it was like already like a partial week at school that week because of, I think Thanksgiving was later in the week. So I missed that Monday, and then like I only had to go back the next day or two, and then we were off for the rest of the week because of Thanksgiving and stuff. So yeah, it was like, well, I guess it's only a month later. Yeah, that makes sense. Never mind. I guess, like, looking back on it, it felt like it was a longer period of time had passed. But yeah, we were both sat next to each other because we knew each other that day. We're like, we're not telling anybody we're here, right? It's like, yeah, we're not telling anybody we're here. I'm joking, making the turn in the rain, crossing the street. Just hydroplaned into him, it sounds like. Pushed him like 20 feet. Hopefully he wasn't injured. Thought it was on cops because when I showed up, there was like 10 cop cars. He said the guy was hit before he was on trial. So basically, like, maybe he was just trying to get one of the, what do they call that? Oh, we got another caution. What do they call that? Like insurance fraud or something? When somebody tries to intentionally throw themselves in front of oncoming traffic or something and try to get themselves hit so they can get a bunch of money. I think it's called insurance fraud. Debris on the racetrack for Paul Menard, bringing out our second caution of the day. He was one of the 3 cars caught up in that incident with around 100 laps to go. And we are now inside the fuel window, so we will pit for the final time for fuel and tires here. So we'll top off. We can make it to the end from here. We can go 85 laps on a full tank, and this caution came out with less than 70 to go. So yeah, we'll definitely be able to make it to the end. Called stupidity. Yeah, well, I don't disagree. Especially if he's highly intoxicated in the... Can't you get, like, arrested for public intoxication or public indecency for stuff like that, too? If you're, like, causing harm. In this case, he's causing harm to, you know, not only himself, but people in traffic. Causing accidents. So Biffle stayed out of the pits, which is interesting, but I think we're a little outside the fuel window for everybody else to make it to the finish, which is why they did not pit. 60 to go is what you can go there. We're inside our fuel window, though. That's all that matters. And Sadler comes in to pit the next lap. Which there was a mix of cars that did not pit during the first caution. So now with this yellow too, here we are. Two a.m. in the morning. So there's literally nobody else on the road, basically, and he just gotta... Yeah, I'm assuming there was no one else on the road. I mean, usually 2 a.m. in the morning is it... I imagine there's not a lot of traffic at that time. Second place, oh no. Oh, we got it back. Took a couple laps after the race start. Blaney gets back by Biffle. Biffle on older tires. And Blaney's had the superior car all day. Not the first time Biffle has led in this one. He had led earlier on in the race as well, so... Still sitting on 5 bonus points. Whoever was in third would have gotten the free pass with that caution. So we now have 3 cars on the lead lap. That third car was at the tail end of the longest line on the restart. Jeff Gordon pitting from a lap down. Very odd these cars are pitting. I mean, they're in their window now. I mean, now we have 60 to go. A couple laps go, 61, 62 to go. But they didn't pit under the caution when we had about 67 to go. even being just that many laps outside the fuel window. Which the only way I wouldn't have pitted in that situation too is if I knew I could have went quite a ways into the run on the back side of that, but in their case, knowing that they were close to having to pit again anyway, I don't know why they didn't just pit in that instance. I also still don't know, other than accelerated fuel window glitch, which we've had before again on this game, that we just had in the Busch race a couple days ago at Talladega, why they're even pitting 20 to 25 laps before me every run anyway. Well, we're probably 16, 17, 18 laps to the good on fuel to the finish from where we're at, so we don't have to worry about anything. Nothing was going on in the 10 Cup. Yeah, I just drawing a bunch of attention. That's also probably why there were 10 cop cars there, is because there was literally nothing else going on. Let's go check this out. The guy had been hit before. It's crazy. By the way, we are one like away from our goal of 25, so if you haven't hit that like button yet, be sure to do so. Got a little over 50 laps remaining here at Phoenix tonight. 2 cautions so far in the race, few cars on the lead lap. A lot of cars trapped a lap down because of the alternated pit window and the timing of the first yellow at lap 209 earlier in the race. Coffee. Oh, there you go. Must have been one of those 24-hour ones too, so. Yeah, midnight donuts and coffee. The classic. What was the dude even doing out at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night on a motorized scooter? Didn't you say it was raining? Yeah, in the rain. I didn't even ask that question yet. That doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't be stereotypical uncle. Ah, that's alright. It's a harmless joke. No different than like random people knowing I watch NASCAR and calling me a redneck, even though I'm like far from it. And outside of watching NASCAR, there's like no other form of redneck is however you want to say it. redneckitis. I don't know. It's like it's a symptom. It's a disease. I don't live out in the country. I don't drink alcohol. I don't listen to country music. Country music or dad rock. Like, I don't know. I can remember somebody mentioned to me a while back at my work. It was during fair season. This wasn't even this last fair season. It was like the fair season before that. But they said something about like tractor pulls going on. They're like, "Are you going to the tractor pulls at the fair tonight or whatever?" And I'm like, "No." Like, for one, I had to work the next day still, and then for two, he's like, "You don't do that kind of stuff." I just kind of figured you watch racing, so you. I'm like, no. Yeah, I'm like, I don't have that kind of redneck in me. Don't date my sister. Yeah, I don't plan on it. I don't do that either. So yeah, that's another reason why I'm not a redneck. I just like watching racing. You know, there's pure racing fans out there that aren't rednecks, believe it or not. Most of them, actually. If we're being completely honest, most of them are not. You know, I always compare it to like, you know, somebody, if I ever like just mention something to somebody like, oh, you know, you should go to a NASCAR race or something, and, you know, it's a blast. Try to tell them, obviously they know I'm the NASCAR guy. If I'm telling them that in the first place or whatever, they'll be like, no. And I'm like, not really my thing, like, because they think it's like rednecky or something. I'm like, really? Like, there aren't any more than what you would see if you went to like a random NFL game or, you know, a football game or any other sporting event where you'll see a few of them there too, where they're just drinking all day. They don't remember where they were at by the end of the night. And like, you'll see that everywhere. I don't know why you think that like that's 100% just like what everybody does at a NASCAR race. Like, maybe in the infield there's quite a few of them down there, but at least, you know, where I'm at in the grandstands all the time, it's not like that. A lot of people are there because they actually want to watch a race, believe it or not. Not a fair person. Yeah, there was the only main reason I even used to go when I was a kid, my grandparents would take me because they had like a horse racing track at the county fair that my grandparents lived in. And that horse track was built by my grandpa's dad. And he had ran races, like horse races there and stuff. So when the horse racing would go for 1 or 2 nights at the fair every year, we'd always go those nights because they would have like a memorial like race or whatever throughout the night for my grandpa's dad. So he'd be like doing the trophy presentation for that race and stuff and taking pictures and all that. So that's why we were there at the fair growing up a couple nights every year. But that was literally the only reason we were there. I haven't been back since. So that was always kind of cool. But we were also watching racing the whole night, you know, so. Caution number 3. More debris, it looks like, off of Paul Menard. Front bumper came off earlier. His hood comes off now. I'm surprised he still hasn't pitted. That's going to put Greg Biffle inside his fuel window, so he needed that yellow. Whoever was in 3rd place back in it, and now the 4th place driver, who would have been the first car 1 lap down, is back on the lead lap as well. We're inside our fuel window still. We're going to keep the track position, stay out of the pits. So this allows for Biffle to be good on fuel to the finish here. And we will get to the restart. Green flag back in the air. Sorry, Kurt. I was expecting him to go to the bottom a little sooner into the corner. He did not. Oh, and now he clears up. and slams Dave Blaney into the wall on the restart as the caution's out again, our fourth of the race. A couple cars got their laps back. That was a big hit for Kurt Busch, couple of them. So he ran wide getting into the corner where the contact had happened initially, and then obviously was not clear on corner exit. Took Blaney up into the wall. And now Blaney's going to have to come down to pit road to repair some damage to the right side of the car. Got 5.3 seconds of damage. Well, the good news is there's not many cars on the lead lap, so I would think that our car's still okay to beat those other few drivers, but not something you want to see when you're dominating a race. Kurt Busch over-aggressive on the restart. Jeff Green, innocent bystander in that. Kurt slid down the track and Green hit him. Garth Brooks at the county fair. That's a big name for a county fair. I don't listen to country music, but I at least know the name of Garth Brooks. Oh, wow. Tony Stewart, contact on that restart. He goes wide in turn one. Blaney gets back to the lead on Biffle. Kurt Busch has a lot of damage on his Dodge, and we might get another caution here soon. 4 yellows have piled on in this race, all since lap 209, by the way. All 4 cautions have taken place since lap 209. And with the damage on Kurt Busch's race car, we're probably going to get at least another debris yellow before we get too many laps into this green flag run, if I had to guess. Good restart by the driver of the number 22 to get back to the lead again. 31 laps to go at the line this time by. I don't know who the Oak Ridge boys are. You lost me on that one. I mean, Biffle does have slightly fresher tires than that of Dave Blaney. I don't know how much damage Blaney picked up from that incident with Kurt Busch. Well, 5.3 seconds worth to repair at least. So that could have slowed this 22 car down a little bit from where it once was. So we might not have that pull-away speed anymore, but we still have speed in it to win, which is the key here. Again, as fast of a car as we've had in this race, you'd hate not to win. A random circumstance like that happens, and here we are. Honestly, with all these cautions coming out, I haven't seen anybody restart with Blaney and Biffle this entire time. So I almost wonder if everybody from like third on back was more than 1 lap down. Only thing I can think of as to why that would be the case. Well, we saw some pit stops take place under green after the second yellow instead of during it, so definitely could have seen quite a few drivers lose another lap because of that. Cautions out again, our 5th of the race. 5 yellows in the last about 80 laps. A little less than 80 laps to get all 5 of these cautions here towards the end after a caution-free race for 209 laps to start. So cautions definitely breeding cautions here in this one. Kurt Busch losing track position with that damage on the restart. Crash that could have been avoided, that's for sure. And another restart incoming. Kurt back on the front row. Hopefully he's not a rival with us. Green flag back in the air. He is not. Still an ally. So maybe he even knows it was his fault. Blaney clears down into turn 1. Probably the best launch Blaney's had on a race start so far. 22 laps to go in this race for the number 22 who's trying to get a 6th win of the year. And keep that momentum up headed to Dega, as that race will more than likely end up taking place on Monday. Don't like going to concerts because the music's loud. Yeah, I mean, that would be a reason not to go to the concert. I live for that. Especially with the music I listen to. I just love hearing the... Especially like the drums of the double kick pedal in my chest. Like, I love that feeling. $19 laps left. Interested to know if we end up getting yet another caution before the end of this race. Dave Blaney keeps nailing his restarts outside of that one where Kurt Busch tried to clear us when he wasn't clear. Once again, also plenty of fuel in this car to make it to the end. Without any cautions, we would have been about 16 laps to the good on fuel, and obviously all these yellows were even more laps than that to the good, so fuel has not been a question mark here on this 22 team, and not a question mark for a lot of these other drivers, which they needed it to just try to keep themselves in the race with the leader, Dave Blaney. And although that first caution came at a wrong time, which is why so many cars are lapped down in the first place, it has led us to the point where we're at right now, where at least there's a couple cars on the lead lap that still have a shot at the win other than the 22. If they can just time one of these restarts out, I think the double file restarts are hurting them with the lap cars on the inside because we keep getting such a good launch that we're able to clear into the first turn, and they're not. And they have to battle through the lap traffic. By the time they get around them, we're already nearly a second ahead, as we are right now. Then we just kind of sit on the lead because our car's so fast that they're just not able to overcome even on slightly fresher tires. So we're definitely not going to have that pull away speed on the slightly older tires, but good speed to just hit our marks, continue doing what we're doing. 1/10 of a second quicker than second that last lap, who is still Greg Biffle. By the way, thanks for allowing us to get to our goal of 25 likes on the stream. I don't know when we hit it, but we did hit 25. That's where we're at right now. Appreciate that, everybody. So again, our next stream will be tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. Cup Series practice and qualifying at Watkins Glen. So that'll be our first of 3 live commentary streams this weekend. Xfinity race will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern as well on the channel. And then the Cup Series race will end up taking place on Sunday, and we'll go live for that at 2:30 p.m. Eastern with our pre-race. And all that action can be seen on the USA Network, obviously, in cohesion with us streaming it right here on the channel on KRC. Lap 300 in this one, 13 to go. Dominating one for Dave Blaney. Definitely going to lead over 200 laps in this race. We only had to lead 19 laps to get to 1,000 laps led on the season. We were able to do that in the first fuel run alone. Took the lead on lap 15 for the first time and have dominated pretty much ever since. There have been moments where we weren't in the lead on a restart here or there because of pit cycling if we had to pit under caution. One time we pitted under green and we came out fourth on the older tires after the first green flag stop earlier in the race. But other than that, we were able still to drive ourselves back to the lead under green flag action. That was the only time we lost the lead after getting it from lap 15 to the time we had the pit stop and restart sequence at lap 209. Ten to go. Ten more than Dega on Monday. And I do want to get the last 50% truck race out of the way at some point this weekend as well. So that might be like a very, very short, like pre-live commentary stream race. Or maybe I try to cram it sometime tomorrow or Sunday, but definitely want to knock that one out quickly just because I don't want to make that like a stream of its own on a night just because I know it's going to be less than an hour. So we'll probably have that at some point this weekend also. So it'll be the 11th truck race out of 25 on the year. Eight laps to go. Back to the far chase cam for the rest of it. 2.5 lead for Blaney. Getting about to be his 6th win of the season. Should have over 1,200 laps led on the season, honestly, after today. Through just 8 races. We broke the record with Mark Martin in our Revenge Tour season last year. And the insane thing is we've had 3 50% races so far this year. And another insane thing, we didn't lead a single lap at Texas in the last race. So really, all of these 1,200 plus laps led have only come in 7 of the 8 races we've ran. At California, we only led, I think, 2 laps in that race and 4 at Atlanta in the races we won there. So 6 laps led combined in 3 of the 8 races. And the other 5 we will have led probably over 12,000. Or not 12,000, 1,200. But, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot in a 5-race stretch. Bristol, Martinsville, Vegas, and here really are the 4 that we just dominated in laps led. And we ended up leading the most at Daytona. We led 70 despite not winning the 500. So hopefully we'll have speed at Dega because we did have speed at Daytona for the most part. The draft being the great equalizer. It'll definitely be a wild one, that's for sure. We saw a couple flips in the Busch race we had there on Tuesday night. Missing some of the carnage. And we'll have 500 miles of that on Monday instead of 300 like it was the other day. So we'll probably have even more carnage to have to miss. Biffle hoping for yet another caution, try to get one last chance at Blaney here late. No cautions on the final lap. I mean, we saw in the truck race yesterday there was a yellow with 2 to go and it set up a green-white checker, so never know. Only get 1 attempt, though, at a green-white checker in 06 in NASCAR, so. And because the restart would come with less than 10 laps to go, all the lap cars would be at the tail end of the lead lap car line, so it'd probably give Biffle more of a chance at trying to get to the lead with how good Blaney has been on his initial launches today. Two to go. 2.2 seconds ahead. White flag. So we're going to end this race with 5 cautions here today. Again, all between laps 209 and 285. 3 of them for debris and 2 crashes. Keeping our string of no caution-free races across all 3 series alive. Checkered flag, Dave Blaney wins by about 2.5 seconds over Greg Biffle and Jimmy Johnson at Phoenix. Well, we didn't lead by 1 to 2 laps if it would have stayed caution-free with the accelerated AI pit window, but we did get the win. Let's go. All right. Take a look at some other race stats. 2.3 second margin of victory. 2 hours, 44 minutes, 24 seconds total time in the race tonight. Again, 5 cautions, 20 lead changes. I don't even think we had that many, especially considering we led 273 of 312 laps tonight. Dominating race here for Dave Blaney. That's got to be the most laps led by average in the race, like most percentage of laps led we've had this season. Obviously, we led more at Bristol when we won that one, but that was also a 500 lap race. So this might be the biggest percentage-wise. But 273 led for Blaney. 113.86 mile per hour average race speed. Greg Biffle led 20 laps, finishing second. 2 for Jimmy Johnson in third. Tony Stewart didn't lead a lap, finishes fourth. Kurt Busch led 2 laps, finishing fifth. Started fifth. Ryan Newman started on pole, led the first 14 before we took the lead the first time. He finishes sixth. Jeff Green with a solid run, finishing seventh. Dale Jarrett eighth. Matt Kenseth ninth. Kevin Harvick rounds out the top 10. And we only had 4 cars finish on the lead lap. And everybody from sixth on back finished at least 2 laps down. Again, mainly due to that 209 lap caution-free portion, and the AI had pitted 1 extra time at that point. So that is why we had so many cars finish off the lead lap in this one. W. Hall, Sterling Marlin, our A-Bot were the 3 drivers at DNF tonight, and the only 3 that failed to make it to the finish. All right, so we see Dave Blaney in victory lane. Let's take a look at the point standings. Dale Jr. did not finish in the top 10, and he came in 69 points out of first. So we probably have easily over a 100-point lead heading into Dago on Monday for our next race. And we'll be a quarter of the way through the season after Monday as well. And we'll only have 16 races left until the chase. 159-point lead over Dale Jr., so about a full race. That's big. Newman has closed the gap immensely on him after finishing top, 6, but leading laps. Biffle finishing second leading laps. So tight battle for second right now. And Elliott Sadler's got the last spot in the chase. Jeff Gordon would be out as of right now. I mean, look at these names. Not in the top 10. Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Bobby Labonte. That's 3 former champions. Mark Martin, best driver to not win a championship. A young Kyle Busch at HMS. Yeah, I mean, this is insane. I mean, Bobby Labonte's in the 43 car at this time, but Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon you wouldn't think would be out. But both the Robert Yates cars are in. Like, that's the difference right here. Sadler won the Daytona 500. He's kind of fell back since then. He's technically 9th with the tiebreaker because he won a race. But Yeah, both Robert Yates cars are ahead of Gordon and Kenseth as of right now. And if they run just as good at Talladega as they did at Daytona at the start of the year, where they were both up there for most of the race, that's where they scored a lot of their points this season. They've had good finishes outside of that, but that is their consistency off the start. And we'll see how it goes. That's going to be it for tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in yet again. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more NASCAR content. Again, I'll see you tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Cup practice, qualifying, Xfinity doubleheader for live commentary. Hope to enjoy the rest of the race weekend. We got Watkins Glen coming up this weekend for NASCAR, second race of the Cup Series playoffs. I'm pumped. Hopefully you guys are as well. See you tomorrow morning, everyone.